Hi everyone, welcome to New Bear. Today we're going to look at pearl tatting. Pearl tatting is a straight chain which has stitches on both sides and is worked using 3 threads. You'll need 2 shuttles and a third thread, which will be our core. The core thread can come from a shuttle or a ball, or it can be a free floater, meaning it's not attached to anything. Pearl chains are just like normal chains in that they follow on from a previous element. So that's great if you're continuing to work with 2 threads. But as I mentioned before, pearl chain is worked with 3 threads. Now when I show a technique, I usually just tie my threads together with my knot representing the previous element. So I've done that today, but I've also worked 4 stitches of a chain, reversed my work and started a normal ring. So the reason that I've done that is because I want to show you how to go from 2 to 3 threads, as we would have to do if we were in the middle of a project. The reason for having the chain first is I wanted to get my knot out of the way. I don't want to have that knot at the base of my ring. I'm going to show you 2 different ways we can incorporate our third thread. We have shuttle 1, shuttle 2, and we're part way through making our ring. When we have about 6 stitches or thereabouts left to finish out our ring, we're going to make first half of the next stitch, taking the tail of our third thread, place it underneath your ring, make the second half and run that tail through with your core thread of your ring. So we're going to tat over the tail until we get to the final stitch for the ring. For the last stitch, the tail is included in the first half only. So make the first half and include the tail. Second half, we want the tail to run out the back, but we don't want it running with our core thread. Close your ring part way. We have a long tail coming out the back to the left and a short tail coming out the front to the right. We need to swap that over. So hold on to your stitches, pull the short tail through until you have a long tail out to the right and a short tail out to the left. Be careful not to pull it all the way through. And we finish closing our ring. That has put our core thread into the middle, holding our ring in the pinch. Take your third thread, which is now your core thread, and set your hand up for a chain. Shuttle 1 sits above the core thread, shuttle 2 sits below. Now stitches are not flipped when we pearl tat. Using shuttle 2, we're going to make 3 double stitches and we're wrapping our stitch. Because we're on the underside of the core thread, we're going to work rods. So we're making the second half first, the first half second. Making the second half of that stitch, don't flip it, pull it all the way down. Make the first half and do the same thing, wrap, don't flip. Second half, first half. Picking up shuttle 1, we're working first half, second half, and again we're wrapping, not flipping. As we pull our stitch down, there'll be a small bare thread space, small loop bridging across the previous set of stitches. These loops are known as purls. Now the stitches are going to be facing the wrong way. They're going to be facing downwards. When we place shuttle 1 to the back of our hand, our stitches will roll back over and face the right way. So continuing along our core thread, we're back to shuttle 2, doing rods again. Back to shuttle 1. First half, second half. Continue along the core thread, alternating between the 2 shuttles for the number of stitches that our pattern calls for. Okay, so I'm starting exactly the same way as I did earlier. I have a very small chain, mainly just to keep this knot out of our way and to show what it would be like if we were part way through our project. Turn my work and I've started a ring. We're ready to close this ring now, but before we do that, we're going to prepare our core thread. So all we need to do is fold the tail end back on itself, forming a loop. You want this tail end long enough so that when you set your hand up for a chain, the tail will wrap around your pinky. For me, that's about 20 centimeters. Picking up our ring again, we're going to start to close it, but we're not closing it all the way. Pick up the looped core thread, pass the loop down through the ring, get your thumb and finger in there, grab the tails of your core thread and pull through that loop. Pull that down, and that has formed a lark's head, which will look like a double stitch when we close our ring. So if I was working with 2 colours on my project, I'd match my core thread to my ring. You're not going to see the rest of the core, but you will see the lark's head. So same as we did before, we're going to hold our ring in the pinch. This time we're running both the tail and the core thread over our hand as we set up for a chain. Shuttle 1 sits above the core thread, shuttle 2 sits below. Using shuttle 2, our stitches are made exactly the same as before. So the only thing that we're changing is the way that we've incorporated our 3rd thread. We're also tatting over the tail in our core instead of having it up in our ring. So I like to cover about 8 stitches. When we're ready to lose our tail, I like to do it in a half stitch. Just drop that tail to the back and continue with your stitches. We come back later and trim the tail off. When we get to the other end of our tatting and we've finished our pearl chain, our 3rd thread is tatted over as we did at the start, just like a normal tatting over of the tail. Looping our pearls so that they don't lie flat along our stitch gives us a picot look. Adding beads needs to be pre-planned, as the beads need to be wound onto your shuttle. When you get to the place where you want your beads to be, let the bead down and continue on with your stitches. Take the core thread off your hand. To work rings on the left, we use shuttle 1. Wrap our hand and make the ring with flipped stitches as we normally would. So we're making a thrown ring. Close your ring. For rings on the right, we turn our work over and work our stitches in reverse order. So second half, first half. Close your ring. Turn your work back over. And continue with your pearl tatting. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.